Thank you, Pete. Awesome as always. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see everyone on this Thanksgiving weekend. And those of you online, I know a lot of people travel over this weekend. It's like the biggest travel weekend of the year. So it's good to see people here. And if you're out on the road somewhere or in a plane somewhere, I hope you're safe and easy going on your travels today. So this weekend, and I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, whatever you did, despite the football. All right, so today we're talking about divine paradoxes, which is kind of an interesting thing. And where this came from is a number of weeks ago, we had in our book study group, we were talking about yin yang and the Tao and things, and Reverend Richard brought up the divine paradoxes, and we just went through the labels, but it seemed real interesting to people. People seemed stimulated by it, so I thought I'd follow up with it and say, add a little meat to the bone on the divine paradoxes. Okay. So next slide, next one. So this comes from Heart-Centered Metaphysics by Reverend Paul Hasselbeck, who's one of our long-term teachers at Unity and Unity School. And I was in his classes, and Reverend Richard, and he's still working with Unity. And so he has 4 divine paradoxes that he discusses in the books. And first thing is, he says a paradox is an assertion that may appear contradictory or opposed to common sense, but nevertheless is true. Understanding the concept of paradox helps in becoming more fully aware of the scope of divine mind, oneness, or spirit. So this is for our interest, it's for our understanding, and let me just say, we're human beings in this dimension with our 5 senses and all those things, and we can only understand so much. We're trying to put language and understanding to something that's kind of beyond our understanding on this earthly plane. So have fun with it. That's the way I look at it, is let's just have a little fun with it. So the first paradox, next, is principle and personal. So how can spirit, God, divine mind be principle behind everything and personal to us? So Paul says, though God is not a person, yet God is personal. There is nothing impersonal about God mind in me. It is my mind at the point of God mind, but it is my mind. And that's a quote from Eric Butterworth. And he goes on, God is personal to us when we recognize God within us as our indwelling life, intelligence, love, and power. There is a difference between a personal God and a God personal to us. All right. So God is much more expansive. Spirit is much more expansive and provides the principle of the universe and of our spirituality, and it's all behind everything that we do. It is behind the creation of everything that we do. Yet we are connecting with spirit, and we are expressions of spirit, and that's our personal part. And we can feel a lot of things around that, and that's okay. As a person, as a human being, we feel a lot of things, and we are the expression at the point of us, of the Christ, coming forth in the world. And so we think about, what do we want to be in the world? Because of also, how would we want Spirit to have us be in this world? How would the Christ express best through me in this world? That's our personal part. So God, Spirit, is both principle and personal, even in a metaphysical way. The next is immanent and transcendent, which Fancy words, I know. God immanent refers to all pervading and indwelling presence of God, the life, the intelligence permeating in the universe. God is more than God's universe. God is prior to and is exalted above it, but at once God is in the universe as the very essence of it. God is both transcendent and immanent. So, transcendent in the sense of even beyond the universe. Okay? The Spirit God created the universe and keeps creating and expanding the universe. So it is beyond even our understanding of the universe. It's what the cause of the universe. That's the transcendent part. And the immanent part then is that it's permeating, and again, similar to the first paradox, through us, in us, and it's very immanent in our life and in our minds today. Okay. So divine mind is everywhere present, transcendent, yet all part of us as individuals and as our community. It's immanent, and our world. Okay. So we have trouble getting our heads around sometimes, or I do, these things that are so big and yet immediately personal to us and relevant to us. The next one that he talks about is Spirit as Father, Mother. Now, a lot of people have talked about Father, Mother, God in the past. In unity, that was a phrase that used to be used a lot. I still have it ingrained in my head from so many prayers and blessings and things that we've done over the years where we said Father, Mother, God. And he says in here, though the term father, mother carries the connotation of physical gender or personality traits, when we use it to describe divine nature or oneness, we are interpreting it metaphysically to represent ideas and energy. Divine mind is a source of principles we define as masculine and feminine. These are labels we put on a subset of divine qualities. So this is where it came up in our book study group, kind of like the yin and the yang. They're different energies, masculine, feminine, and again, it's not male, female. It's not that women have more of one and men have more of another or any of those kinds of things. It just is part of our universal energy. And it's in everything, in nature, in everything that we have and are. We have both these masculine and feminine energies as we define them as human beings. Now, spirit isn't up there going, okay, I have this masculine energy, this feminine energy, and they shall be what they should. No. Spirit doesn't think like that, but we're trying to get our human heads around this, right? And we see the differences, and we feel different energies, right? And that's okay, and that's part of our spiritual nature, is that we have these and we express these and we can use both of these awesome energies. Next, law and grace. So this is a paradox of how do you have the law, right, and yet grace, forgiveness, salvation, okay? And humankind, by keeping the law of right thought, works in perfect harmony with divine law and thus paves the way to spiritual consciousness. So in this context, metaphysically, the law is just the principle expressing now, right? So the law of gravity, now that's going to happen no matter what, right? That's kind of a law of gravity. So that's what we're talking about. And that seems kind of impersonal and not real understandable. But there are many laws, the spirit, the universe, physics, everything. And that's all there. It's true. Okay? Now, it also metaphysically, we talk about it leaving room for grace, and actually what Jesus Christ taught was not to deny the law of the Hebrew scriptures, but to fulfill the law and take it to the next level. Okay? And that's what Jesus Christ taught and the Gospels teach. And in the book here he says, Jesus brought a new consciousness of divine law. He acknowledged the mechanical law of cause and effect, while he knew it was possible to fulfill the law by transcending its mechanical repetition. One of these changes, and this is where it hits home, one of these changes is to let go of the insistence on even exchanges in life. If I do this, I'll get that. If you do that to me, then I'll do this to you, or da-da-da-da-da. You know, all these things that we run around through our mind. That person did that. Well, that should happen to him. No. Okay, all that stuff, okay? We have to let go of the even exchanges in life. Another change is to be willing to forgive sin or error instead of insisting on punishment for sin. And that's where the grace comes in. All right? So, letting go that we think we know the law in our heads and that we know what ought to come out of whatever actions and things are out there, let Spirit handle it, right? I don't have to punish someone, okay? I can forgive and love and have compassion for whatever they're doing, they're believing, they're saying, because I know they're divine, and yes, we all have our error thinking, yes, we all have our mistakes, and yes, we will all reap the benefits of those, and I don't have to worry about it, okay? Grace deals with the increase of good through greater giving. It is the unconditional love of divine mind that we are and is always available. So we have that always available, the grace of Spirit of God, because that's an essence of what Spirit is. Spirit is always love, always grace, always forgiveness. There's no exception in Spirit like there is in us as human beings. And our goal is to expand that expression in us because it's always available. It's always there. And then there's one more little paradox I threw in. It's not in the book, but call it the human paradox if you want. And this is one. I got to be able to read this. So, the spiritual being and the human being. We talk about this quite a bit in Unity at different times, in different places. And this is a quote from Neil Donald Walsh. It says, "You think of yourselves as humans searching for a spiritual awakening, when in fact you are spiritual beings attempting to cope with a human awakening. Seeing yourselves from the perspective of the Spirit within will help you to remember why you came here and what you came here to do." Okay? So are we spiritual beings having a human experience, or are we a human having spiritual experiences? This is kind of an interesting paradox too that I find and that we talk about and express. So my personal belief is, we are all spiritual beings. Everyone is a spiritual being, and we are having human experiences. Depending what tradition and philosophy you follow, you may think we have only one human experience, this, or you may think we have thousands of human experiences, Buddhists oftentimes talk about having thousands of lives. So both are true. I don't know if I've had 1,000 lives, I'm not sure, or will have 1,000. But I do believe that there's something more than just the human experience I'm having, that I am a part of, and that I am expressing. And this is an expression, it's not the totality. I am a spiritual being, and we all are spiritual beings. We all are birthed from spirit through the Christ. So those are some of the paradoxes that we find interesting and useful to think about. Now, where does this all lead us to? Well, hopefully the next slide. What we see as the truth is really for us to accept the truth that we are divine, we are whole, we are oneness. And we use these ideas to help us understand and express that and feel that, because this is the truth of who we are. Now, does everyone feel this way all the time? Probably not, because we're humans. We're having this human experience, and we don't feel divine all the time, and we don't feel whole and together and one all the time. But that's our goal, and that's our spiritual goal. And in unity, that's what we are trying to do, is help people, ourselves, and others do that. And I want to make the point, too, that as you do that, anything you do to raise your consciousness and develop your spiritual presence is raising the consciousness of the world, of the collective, I believe. So even if I just am working on myself to get in a better place, get my mind in a better place, feel better, do some open the spirit, meditation, whatever, anything I do to help myself grow spiritually, I'm helping the whole world consciousness grows spiritually. So realize you have an impact beyond just yourself. You have an impact on your community, and impact on global consciousness. And that's part of the truth of what we have and what we are. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are starting the preparation period for the birthing of the Christ, rebirthing of the Christ in us, which is what metaphysically what Christmas is about. Okay. And as we go into Advent, let's go to the next slide. I want you to think about these three things. So you heard about hope and faith in the daily word. And also, I'd like to point out, we do have the Unity Advent booklets available in the bookstore. So there's readings for every week and every day. It's also available digitally online for free at unity.org. So you can follow along throughout the Advent process if you want. But the first week is set up as hope and faith. And it's interesting because I always heard hope, love, peace, joy for the 4 weeks of Advent. Now, in my little research that I was doing on this, I was trying to figure out, why does it say hope and faith for the first one? Well, I figured it out through some research. There's some writing. And what it is hope is an emotion that comes out of our faith, which is a power. The 12 powers we talk about in Unity, we have 12 powers, 12 spiritual powers within us. One of those is faith. And using the power of faith, we build hope. So I turned it around from what the Daily Word said, but it's faith. Where are we putting our faith? We have faith. You can't not have faith. It's an essence of, it's one of our basic spiritual powers. We have faith. The question is, where are we putting it? What are we putting our faith in? Okay. So hope is how we're feeling, gives us a measurement of that. Are you feeling hopeful? Are you feeling hopeless? Or somewhere in between? Okay? And I believe a lot of that depends on where we put our faith. So if we put our faith and into spirit and divine law and just having fun learning about this stuff and all those kinds of things, I find myself being more hopeful. Okay? If I put my faith in the news, the network news, and other things going on Earth in, just the surface way that we look at things, then I start to lose hope. And you become less hopeless. And I consciously, I've been playing with this week, obviously. So I consciously well, why am I doing that? Let's shift that and put my faith into something else. How do I do that? It's by my focus. In my mind, I choose to focus on the news or something else. Okay? I choose to think about things in the world one way or another way. Our focus. And this actually reminded me of a phrase that was taught in some Buddhist classes I was in, and I didn't understand it, and it's come around finally to me. But the teacher said, Dharma, which is like the spiritual scriptures and learning and teachings and all that, Dharma, protects your brain. Dharma protects your brain. And I was like, how does it do that? And it took me a while to figure it out, but that's what she was talking about is this. Instead of focusing on news or some things that scare us and we get upset about, we can focus our mind on spiritual things. We can read the Advent booklet. We can go on YouTube and look at many very interesting unity services and other metaphysical things and workshops and all kinds of things. There's many things out there that we could absorb and focus on in the spiritual world also. That's positive, constructive, instead of negative and destructive. So the idea here is, yes, I protect my brain by what I focus on. If I focus on the spiritual, I'm protected. If I focus on the human tragedy, well, I feel like human tragedy. And I have less hope for the future. So our focus leads to where we put our faith. We have it. And then that tells us in our emotions with hope whether we're hopeful or not. So as a challenge for you this week, that's what I'd like you to do, is throughout the week, and if you're a journaler or you write a diary or whatever, you may want to address it in there. If you're not, I'm not personally, I don't do a lot of that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But just a check of myself throughout the week. Where am I putting my faith? What am I focusing on? And is that helping develop the Christ consciousness or not? And if I'm feeling hopeless and upset and disturbed about stuff going on, then I say, well, I think I need to change my focus, because that stuff, not to deny it doesn't happen, there's a lot of crappy stuff going on in the world, I understand that, okay? And it's okay just to know it's there. But if I put my focus on it, and all my time and energy and looking at it, and then I'm going to get bummed out. And so I would challenge you to take inventory of how are you feeling, where's your focus, and what are you putting your faith in. So that's your challenge for this week, and hopefully it leads you to being hopeful and really fulfilling the Christ Spirit for this time as we're preparing to bring it forth in all of us. And with that, next slide. It brings us to knowing the truth again of who we really are. We are divine, we are whole, and we are one. And if we're giving our attention to something that says differently, shift it. Shift it so that we're looking at and building faith in this, not in the other human things going on in the world. So, thank you. Namaste. And now is a time where we take a few minutes to go within, so I invite you to get comfortable in your chairs and just breathe calmly, sweetly, lovingly. Feel the release of your breath throughout your body. As you inhale and exhale, you become more and more relaxed and also more focused on the inner. And as we breathe and go in, we recognize that we are divine. We are all expressions of the Christ, and everyone is an expression of the Christ. We all have the Christ Spirit within, those we agree with and those we disagree with, those we like, those we don't like. We are all one in spirit. We are all divine. We are all whole. We have nothing lacking, because all is provided in spirit, through spirit. And this oneness is the path to peace, to love and expressing love throughout the world. By raising our consciousness to these divine ideas, to these truths of who we are, we build our consciousness and the world's consciousness. And we know that we are innately good. We are an original blessing. That we are all here to serve, to love, and to experience this time on earth, to help us realize our divinity in the Christ Spirit. So now I invite you to just take a moment of silence, go within, and contemplate. I am divine. I am the Christ. I am one. And as we return to this place and time, I affirm that I will go forward, focusing my faith on spirit, on the divine, on the wholeness and the oneness. I choose to build my faith in this, not in the other appearances of the physical world alone. I go forth knowing I'm divine and everyone is divine. And it's seeing that in others as well as myself. And by doing that, I bring peace to the world. And for this, we are grateful. Amen.